traditional PR versus digital PR. Both of you live in both worlds. Would you talk a little bit what the difference is?
Sure. I think that just to build off of what you're saying about press releases, this is a very common discussion that we have at Sprint, is whether or not to kill the press release. And we have camps in both areas. Some people are like, kill it, it's no longer any good. Other people say that a journalist needs a press release. And we haven't found a resolution yet, but one of the things that we've started doing is making our news more bite-sized, right? To make it appeal and to make it more accessible via Twitter and other social media platforms, because journalists are out there constantly, trolling the internet and social media to find news. So to give an example, we recently announced our earnings, and what we found is that earnings press releases are complicated, and people don't understand them. And all of the fine points. I mean, the financial journalists certainly understand it, but we want to reach far and wide with our key messages from our earnings. So what we've started to do is a fun animated GIF. And what it does, it's probably about 7 or 8 slides, and it talks to you about what Sprint did this quarter. And it's like boom, 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 done. And then what that is, again, bite-sized news. And we still have the press release, because we have to have the press release for this. And then journalists are invited to research the press release, and they can research specific questions. If they had, a question about our subscriber count or about our revenue generation, they can dig into the press release and get that information.
The GIF is posted on Instagram, or where do you post it?
It's posted on the Sprint Newsroom, and then it's distributed via social media channels.
And which are the most popular social media channels for Sprint?
We love Twitter. So we have put our toe into Instagram and to Snapchat. Facebook is a different animal because of the way that they're running their advertising now. And so they want to always give you the best exposure. But Twitter, we love Twitter. And that includes our CEO, who's on Twitter all the time.
So Whole Foods, from Phelps as an agency, you're working in earned media as well as digital media. Jeanette, take us through a little bit of what your role is, where do you live, trying to bridge both sides of that.
Yeah, first I kind of want to give my perspective on the difference between digital media and traditional public relations. And I think a really good example of that is with the 24-hour news cycle, where it used to be there used to be these rules that PR people sort of lived by, with don't send out a press release on Friday, or wait until the opening day to send out the press release. Well, now we time things much differently. So, for example, Whole Foods Market opened a store in downtown LA on Wednesday, and similar to what you were saying about Sprint, creating more snackable content, we kind of did that. So we instead of sending out a release on Tuesday, the day before, we sent out a release last Thursday. And then we did a press event where we announced some exciting news that we were going to have a restaurant with a celebrity chef in the store, and we announced that at 5 p.m. on Monday when we had all the journalists there for our event. And then that went on the newsroom, and all the people there tweeted about it, posted photos and things like that. Then we sent out another push on Tuesday night before the actual opening day to get all the traditional media to come out to the actual opening. So we kind of used this tiered approach so that journalists and influencers, bloggers and influencers that are not necessarily journalists, but they're, they have hundreds of thousands of followers on Instagram and Snapchat. We created a strategy that could really work to hit all the different types of media. So I think that's a good example of the difference now between traditional PR and digital public relations, is you have all these new ways of reaching people, and you can time things a lot differently. Because you don't want someone to break your news on Twitter before your press release